So what's the policy on tattoos and piercings if you want to work on a cruise ship? Policy? What policy? It's 2019, soon to be 2020. Tattoos are accepted all over the world at any job. You don't say. Hey, what's up guys? How you doing? My name is Justin and welcome to another episode of Ship Life, where I try to inform, educate, and entertain you guys on the world that is ship life. So in today's episode, we are going to be jumping on a subject that you guys have requested. Today we are talking about tattoos and piercings in the ship life workplace. That's right, I'm going to be breaking it down for you guys and letting you know what's acceptable on the ship, what positions allow certain things like tattoos and piercings. I'm going to break all that down for you because it's not so cut and dry. Without further ado, let's get into it.
Let's go!
Alright, let's face it guys, this is a brand new world that we live in. Things are not the same as when our parents and our grandparents were growing up, especially when they were working. Things are a lot more accepted in today's society. Things like tattoos and piercings. Now when I say accepted, I mean that very loosely. In areas like the professional and corporate world, tattoos and piercings still aren't as acceptable. And that does mean cruise ships as well. Tattoos have been popular for a very long time and even date back to the days of early man. It was often used to identify tribes, used for rite of passage, or even as ranking among these groups. Today, unfortunately, everything is split. For the most part, a lot of people believe that it's a sign of gang affiliation, something negative, or maybe even a sign of insanity, which honestly is not really true. But I think it's just you got maybe one or two bad apples that kind of just ruin it for the bunch. Honestly, these days, it's used more for artwork than anything else. And I think that's where the stigma lies. I think things are just seen as a negative thing, especially among the corporate world. Now, anyway, when it comes to that subject, guys, I'm going to just break it down and get to the point and tell you guys what qualifications you would need and what would take you away from the position of working on a cruise ship while having tattoos and piercings. Now, before I get too deep into this, as I always say, guys, when it comes to situations like this, there are always factors. All right, this stuff is subjective depending on what cruise line you're working with, what position, especially what position you're working with on the ship, and other factors. They're just factors when it comes to the situation. Now, for the most part, obviously, like I just said, tattoos are a lot more accepted, but it depends on your position. For example, I'll use myself, all right? People like you and me, we may have a couple tattoos. I don't know if you guys can see. I'll pull up to the camera a little bit more. I have one right here, all right? And I have one right here. I got one on my back, and I have one on my arm, all right? I don't have a lot of tattoos, but of course, in my industry, which happens to be entertainment, well, they don't take too kindly to that. Honestly, they don't really accept it just because you're gonna be on stage in front of people. It depends on the show that I'm doing. For example, my show dates back all the way to 1920s Cotton Club, all right? Obviously, people weren't really rocking tattoos so much back in the day. But thankfully, for my position, I wear a lot of long sleeve shirts, and it kind of works out, which obviously is gonna be a big factor when it comes to what position you're working in on the ship and if it's acceptable or not. Now, since I do have tattoos, I'll never be able to work for a company like Disney, for example. They don't accept tattoos at all, especially if you're what's called a face character when you are in front of people. And again, that's something that's going to be a big factor when it comes to working on ships. Now, when it comes to working on ships, there are two main factors, all right? There are two main ideas of positioning on the ship. There are what's considered people that are out and about, and then you got the people that are in the back that are never seen. I'm sure you know where I'm going with this. For the people that are out and about, let's say, for example, those positions could be anywhere from a bartender to an officer, definitely an officer, which I'll go a little bit more in depth into, to, let's say, a room steward, all right? Another entertainer, somebody that works in maybe the art gallery, all right? Those people are out and about, they're being seen by guests. And again, these are supposed to be very professional industries, working on ships. It's a professional environment. So of course, tattoos and piercings are in a lot of ways frowned upon. However, it just depends on what position you're in. Let's say, for example, I had a girl that was a bartender and she had tattoos. But the thing is, her position allowed her to kind of be behind the table, so she wasn't seen as much. She didn't have any finger tattoos or anything like that, nothing crazy, and she wore a long sleeve shirt to cover it up. Every now and then, it depended on which manager was on, because I mean that's a factor too. Let's be real about it. Whatever manager she had on that day, she'd roll it up. You know what I mean? She wanted her tattoos to show. She was proud of her artwork. Now, for example, somebody that's like a officer on the ship. For the most part, from my friends that were officers on the ship, they did not allow it at all. It was just kind of a thing. You know, they weren't allowed to have visible tattoos, that is. Who knows? I mean, I never saw any because I was never that close to any of the officers to the point to where we were naked around each other or anything like that. But they could have had a tattoo on their back. They could have had a tattoo, you know, on the chest somewhere. But the point is, they can't be visible. So some positions allow it, some people don't. So when it came to me, again, I have tattoos. They're visible technically, but the thing is, if I turn like this, they're not as visible. I don't have like wrapped up colorful sleeves or anything like that. So those have to be taken into consideration. Let's say another position. Again, my friend, he worked in the art gallery. He has a half sleeve. He covered it up. It was that simple. Piercings, of course, are a little bit more lighter subject because piercings can come out. Most workplace environments, and I do mean most of them, not even on the ship, but just as a whole, they ask you to take your piercings out just because it's not considered a professional look. You know, again, that's something that's changing as well, but little by little. Now, when it comes to the crew that are in the back, of course, that are in, let's say, working on 995 or working in the back kitchen, anything like that, typically they all have tattoos. You know, they have everything kind of exposed. I mean, if they're a chef or anything like that, obviously they're in the kitchen, so they're wearing long sleeve shirts and all that anyway. But for the most part, those guys do have tattoos. Now, I know a lot of people are worried that they're going to get into an interview, they're going to get into some kind of, you know, FaceTime or something like that with a possible employer on cruise ships. That's usually how it goes down. And typically they will ask you if you have tattoos. My advice, guys, is to just be honest with them. Tell them the truth, because a lot of times, again, things are a lot more acceptable, but it depends on your position. You'd rather be honest and straightforward with them now and tell them the truth than to get all the way on the ship and one of your managers calls you out, which wouldn't be a good look, obviously. Last thing you want to do is be banned from a cruise line because you weren't honest. All right? You got to think about these things if you're talking about tattoos and piercings on cruise ships. So are you allowed to have tattoos and piercings while working on cruise ships? Technically, yes. But of course, it depends on the position you're in and the manager, and again, there's factors. All right, you guys, just as always, keep that in mind. I don't try to mix you guys up and give you the runaround, but of course, guys, there is never such thing as there is, but in these situations on ships, there is no such thing as a straightforward answer because there are too many factors like cruise lines and management and positions. All right, I'm gonna wrap this video up. This is a pretty short subject to talk about. There's not a lot that I can say here. As always, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe if you haven't, if you guys want to see any more videos on ship life. And as always as well, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, hit me up in the drop box below or hit me up in my email or Instagram, which I'll also leave around here somewhere. Once again, guys, I'm Justin Alexander. I hope you guys are enjoying the ship life. Until next week, you guys take it easy.